Well, hi folks, Mountain Parson here, and I promised you a bonus video from here on Little Cy. And so here I am, and I just want to give you a kind of a 360 spin of how beautiful it is up here. This is a great little hike. If you ever want to do a nice hike and it's not a difficult hike, come on up to Little Cy. Up in North Bend area, and you will have a great time. But the bonus information I wanted to give you on this mountain is right now I'm sitting on a bench, and sorry about that, I'm sitting on a bench here right on the trail, right along the trail on Mount Zion. You can see on this bench is a plaque, and I know you can't read that, but it is a plaque dedicating this bench in memory of Doug Hansen. And Doug Hansen was a postal worker in the Seattle area, primarily in the North Bend area, but also in other areas just around North Bend. And he was also a mountain climber. And Doug Hansen climbed lots of mountains here in the Pacific Northwest and other places as well in the world. But also, and the reason this bench is here dedicated to him, is that he climbed Mount Everest. Twice, as a matter of fact. The first time he went to Mount Everest, he was unable to summit, and so he decided to go back a second time to try to summit, and that was in 1996. And if you know anything about the history of Mount Everest, the worst disaster ever to occur on Mount Everest to that point in time happened in 1996. 8 climbers died and multiple others were injured, losing parts of their fingers and toes and even limbs as a result of the great disaster that took place in 1996. Doug Hansen was part of that great disaster and in fact did die on top of Mount Everest. He did make it to the top that year. And if you want to see a detailed, dramatic recurrence of that, depiction of that, you can see that in a movie entitled Everest, if you so desire. But Doug Hansen climbed to the top of Mount Everest with one of the greatest mountain guides of all time, Rob Hall. Rob Hall and he summited, and then on the way down, Doug Hansen got himself into trouble, unable to see, unable to move, unable to really do anything, and actually succumbed to the elements there on top of Mount Everest to just below the summit. Rob Hall, an interesting story, stayed with his friend. Rob Hall saw Doug as not just a client, but also a friend. And so as they had climbed to the top, finally getting his friend to the top, and now on their way down, Doug being in trouble, Rob Hall did everything he could to get Doug down. He was on the radio with the base camp, and the base camp was telling him, in recognition of what was going on, that Doug was not going to make it, and that Rob should probably just go ahead and leave him. It would be okay to leave him, but Rob refused. He was going to stay with Doug and attempt in every way possible to get him down off that mountain. And over time, over a couple of days, as a matter of fact, Rob Hall stayed with Doug, tried to moved him down a little bit, got lower on the mountain, but ultimately Doug died, and Rob Hall, having stayed too long, was unable to move himself, and he succumbed also to the elements. That is a sad story of two men who achieved great things and yet were unable to return from that. There's a saying in mountaineering that the top is only halfway. That once you get to the top of the mountain, you have to get back down too. And so these two men only made it that halfway and never back down again. Now, Rob Hall had the ability, the capacity, the strength to have gotten himself down that day. But through loyalty, through a commitment and dedication to friendship, he stayed. You know, Jesus says something about that in the New Testament. He says, "Greater love has no man than this, than he laid down his life for his friends." Every time I pass this bench, I'm kind of reminded of that Bible verse and of that story, of a man who loved so much that he laid down his life for his friend, that he stayed at the top with him when he could have left him. When he could have abandoned Doug to die alone on Mount Everest, Rob stayed and consoled him and held him until finally he was no longer there. And by that time, Rob Hall had laid down his life for his friend. And so, an interesting little fact, if you ever come up to Little Cy, there's a little bench alongside the trail. Stop for a moment. Maybe meditate sitting here on this bench about what it means to be loved so much that someone would lay down their life for you. Loved so much that Jesus laid down his life for you. And recognize that in that kind of circumstance, it's phenomenal that we are loved like that. That the love of God knows no boundaries, that you, no matter where you are, no matter the trouble you have found yourself in, Jesus comes alongside and he willingly lays down his life for you. And I think of that great story, and I think of my life, and I'm so thankful that there was someone who loved me enough to lay down his life for me. Hey, God bless you. I just wanted to stop here. I always do on this little hike. I always stop at this bench. So here I am, and this is just the bonus video that I had promised here on Little Sigh. Hey, by the way, as I've said before, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when these videos are up, and hit the notification bell and you'll know right away. Also, be aware that if you'd like to hike with me, I'll be posting my future hikes, and if you'd like to join me, you can just meet me at the trailhead and we'll go together. Hey, good to see you. See you soon. Bye-bye.